as I said, I'm going to talk about a 12-month perspective in this session. So the first thing I want to tell you is this one, the one you see here. This is that you have to look at your QA as 5 challenges. 5 challenge में divide कर लो QA को, divide your quantitative aptitude in 5 different challenges, and these challenges are in sync with the different blocks and chapters of my book, the QA book, the QA for CAT book. और पहला चैलेंज जो तुम्हारा QA for CAT में होता है is essentially the 2 chapters which comprise block 1, which is number systems and progressions. The second challenge is your block 2-3, which is the arithmetic. Now, number system progression will normally in a 25-26 question paper, you will find between 5 to 8 questions at max. So 20% lower limit, maybe 15%, 4 question भी कभी हो सकता है, 3 या 4 भी आ जाए. 3 to 4 to 8 questions, 3 to 8 questions के बीच में आएगा block 1 पे. Right, so if you prepare this well, you would be equipped for between 3 to 8 questions in a 25 question paper. Nobody knows the CAT pattern of 2021 right now. So this is challenge 1. Challenge 2 is block 2-3, which is arithmetic. And arithmetic, as you know, is actually the biggest source of questions in the CAT these years. You can expect anywhere between 35 to 45% of the questions in the CAT paper coming from arithmetic. So in between maybe 9-10 questions minimum to 12, 13, 14 questions maximum, 8 to 12, 13, 14 on the outside if I take the outside limits of that. So you'll expect 8 to 14 questions in this area. And this area, in the chapters you can read for yourself: averages, allegations, percentage, profit and loss, interest, ratio, proportion, variation, time and work, and time, speed, distance. But time, speed, distance, as you know, itself is split into many sub chapters like boats and streams, trains, games of skill and races, etc. Circular motion. तो अगर each chapter पे एक question भी आ जाए तो 8 questions हो जाता है यहाँ पे. Even if I take time, speed, distance 1 unit, I don't divide it into separate units. That's why you will see that arithmetic is the most important part of your preparation structure. So once you look at this, of course, the third challenge for you are the chapters of block 4, which is geometry, mensuration, and coordinate geometry. And the fourth challenge for you are the chapters of block 5, which is functions, inequalities, equations, and logarithms. And the fifth challenge for you is permutation, combination, probability, and set theory. Now, ये तो outline हो गया portion का. This is the portion outline, but सिर्फ portion outline is not what you have come to hear me for. The process of studies, what should you be doing? So first of all, in terms of a scheduling, what should be a timeline management? Right now, I'm speaking to an audience which is either preparing a 12-month framework or in 11th or up to 10-month framework. Maybe you can just modify the timelines a little bit and understand what is to be done. So coming back, your first focus should be, I think you should start from challenge 2. Take the big guy out of the equation, the big guy in terms of the number of questions. So if you first focus on, and in fact challenge 2, because of the number of chapters in this, you can see this, there are 8 chapters here from top to bottom. So if you look at these chapters, these are the maximum. I mean, this is the area which has the maximum number of chapters to cover. So even if you give, let's say, 5 days on an average to a chapter, and time, speed, distance will take you 10 days then. So if your currency of getting through a chapter is 5 days in terms of your completion of a chapter in the first round, तो 5 days का अगर तुम्हारा currency है तो यहाँ पे अगर time, speed, distance को if you think of it as 2 units, तो 9 into 5, 45 days का game तो automatically हो जाता है. This becomes a 45-day game automatically. And if you are talking about 1 week per chapter, then you are talking about 8 to 9 weeks minimum. That means two months time frame roughly on these 8-9 chapters. Now please remember, when you are talking about the objective of preparation, your objective of preparation, let me just share these chapters with you. So your objective of preparation has to be, I mean, for each chapter, when you start a chapter, you have to think about it this way, that they'll be based on your skill level. You will be at some skill level on each of these chapters because you have studied them in school. So based on your starting skill level and based on where your skill level goes after a few weeks of preparation, when you face a question in the exam, there will be three kinds of questions that you'll come across. One kind of question will be questions which will be above your skill level. Second will be which will be around your skill level, and third will be questions which will be below your skill level. So till your skill level is till your skill level is somewhere in between. Till your skill level, let's say somewhere in between. Questions above that and questions above that will always cause a problem for you, and questions below that will be easy. So the idea is that you take your skill level up there so that everything comes below it. So once your skill level is here and all the questions, even the tougher questions of the CAT are below the skill level, what you will start feeling is when you give the CAT, and that's what happens to people like me when I take the exam. That when you give the CAT, you will be like a class 8 student solving a class 4th exam paper. So when you were in class 4, you would find a lot of difficulties in that exam. But by the time you moved in class 8, your skill level in maths had gone up so much that the class 4th exams questions would not pose a problem. So you have to create a similar philosophy for CAT preparation. You have to think about it this way, that you are giving a class 4th exam as a class 8 student. So your skill level has to be, you try to think of the toughest in each of the chapters. You try to think of the toughest kinds of questions, and you take your skill level above that. As simple as that. Right now, how do you do it? What are the mechanics for doing it, and what are the key things that you take care of when you execute this process? I'm just coming to that. So I would think in your timeline management, your first focus should be block 2, 3, and then you should do block 1, right? And block 1 is numbers will take you somewhere between 3 to 5 weeks, and progression will take you somewhere between 1 to 2 weeks. So the challenge 1, which is block 1, is around 4 to 6 weeks long. So essentially, if I add 8-9 weeks of arithmetic followed by 4 to 6 weeks of block 1, so this will actually mean around 13-14 weeks, 15 weeks for you. For maybe 14 weeks is a good time you can actually organize for this. So that means if you're starting in December 1st week, so by end of February, early March, or if you're starting in January 15th, you'll be watching this video for the next couple of months. So if you're starting in January or early February, you are looking at an April end latest finish of block 2, 3, and 1. And this is a significant milestone, because if you get block 2, 3 and block 1 done, you get block 2, 3 and block 1 done. So you are basically standing on basically 50% of the questions in any paper, any test paper you do, you will have a shout at it, at being able to solve it. Whether you can solve everything or not will depend on how high your skills are. लेकिन 50% questions किसी भी एग्जाम में, किसी भी CAT के mock test में या किसी भी CAT के actual test में, you'll find from block 2, 3, 1. So you divide your 5 challenges into the first block of challenges, which is challenge 1 and 2. Get over this in the first 2.5 months, maybe 3 months if you are slightly you need a little bit more time. And when you're doing this, now let's look at the mechanics of doing this. Couple of things. One thing you need to understand is when you go through a chapter, let's say you go through an individual chapter. Let's say you're going through a chapter like percentages. So yeah, you're going through a chapter like time and work. What will happen is, based on your initial level and your ability to learn quants, you will your speed at which you learn will vary, and how many of the questions you can actually solve when you go through a time and work chapter for the first time will vary. So not everybody will be able to solve every question that they come across. So what is very important is, when you're doing a chapter like time and work, or any chapter for that matter, this is true for all chapters, when you when you visit the chapter and its exercises, and you suppose you're using my books and you're using LOD 1 and 2 of my books. If you go into LOD 1, 2 of the books, you'll not be able to solve every question, because if you can solve all the questions of LOD 1 and 2, more or less you're ready for the CAT. If you can solve it by yourself, so you're ready for the CAT. Then you just have to focus on improving your speeds, and you are done. But if you're not ready for the CAT, if you're at the 80 percentile, 90 percentile, or 60, 50, 70 percentile level, then you'll not be able to solve all the questions, and that is how it should be. So remember the one fact, that there will be a gap between the number of questions that you have seen and the number of questions you have solved. And the number of questions solved will not be equal to the number of questions seen. It'll always be lower, because there'll be some questions you can't solve. So accept that fact and learn to live with that fact. Because what I see a lot of people doing is they make a mistake of jumping into solutions. They go to a teacher, they go to a group, they go to their friends, or they go to the written solution of that question. And the moment you do that, you spoil the learning opportunity. So the way I want you to plan your preparation, if you're in a 12-month or 11 or a 10-month context, is you plan visit 1 in the first 3 months on blocks 2, 3, and 1. So by February, we're starting in December, by February end, visit 1 should be over. If you're starting in January, by March end, visit 1 should be over on blocks 1, 2, 3. And visit 1 might entail that you've been able to solve 60% questions of LOD1 and 40% questions of LOD2, or some of sharper people amongst you might have solved 90% of LOD1 and 70% of LOD2. Depends. There might be some of you who would have been able to solve only 40% of LOD1 and 20% of LOD2. Don't worry. If you follow the process, you will reach Delhi. सब लोग दिल्ली पहुंचने वाले हैं. आप बैलगाड़ी पे जाओ, or you go on a train, or you go on a supersonic flight, you'll all reach Delhi only. So the destination remains same. So just because you've been able to solve 40% in LOD1 and 20% in LOD2 in your first round does not mean that you're changing your destination, that you want to top this exam. You'll just need a little bit more effort and more consistency over a longer period of time than somebody who's going with a jet who was able to solve 90% of the questions in the first round. So visit 1 to blocks 2, 3, 1 you should plan in by end of February. In 3-month context, whenever you start, as far as you're starting with at least a 10-month timeline. And then you move to the next blocks. You move to visit 1 of block 4, which is geometry, mensuration, coordinate geometry. Block 5, which is functions, inequalities, equations, and logarithms. And challenge 5, block 6, which is permutation, combination, probability, and set theory.